Greetings friends, my name is Pavel Stelmach and now we will dive into the top news of this day. The first celebration with the rest of Europe. Today Ukraine rejoices in Europe Day. President Volodymyr Zelensky signed such a decree yesterday. Ukraine is an integral part of European civilization, in which freedom, equality, dignity and rights are respected. We are returning to the community of a united Europe, from which the empire pulled us out artificially. Europeanism is one of the foundations of the identity of the Ukrainian nation. Under the flag of a united Europe, Ukrainians took the Maidan in 2004 and 2013. People were standing up for their European future. And it is not for nothing that the Europe Day, the President of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, came to Kiev.
It is an honor and it is a privilege to be here on the 9th of May. The 9th of May is a day to celebrate peace and unity in Europe, to remember the lessons of our history, and to commit to leave a better future for the next generations. So it is very fitting to be here in Kiev to commemorate and to celebrate the 9th of May, dear Volodymyr.
Despite the war, Ukraine is increasingly integrating into the European space. In all areas, political, legal, cultural, we adapt our legislation to the European one. Together we form the basis for the gradual integration of Ukraine into the single European market. European integration is a strategic course of our country, whose purpose is the full membership of Ukraine in the European Union. On this path we have achieved remarkable success. On June 23rd last year, Ukraine received the status of a candidate for EU membership.
You're Europe, because EU is you. It's not something abstract. So you have the opportunity now to see different aspects of Europe. First, Europe, as I said, is you. And therefore Europe has to be fair. I'm the Commissioner for Social Affairs. I'm the Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights. And these social rights are your rights. And Europe is defending your rights, your social rights, your democratic rights.
As Commissioner said, Ukraine is fighting the war. Ukraine is fighting the war for peace. And Ukraine is defending the values, our common European values: democracy, solidarity, rule of law, equality. And our victory is impossible without your help. And I would like to thank you for what you as people are doing for Ukraine. Every parcel, every cent, every good word of truth is valuable.
The idea of a united Europe was born from the desire for integration to prevent the repetition of the bloody wars of the past, such as World War II, which tore the European continent apart. There is an inexorable link between the Day of Remembrance and victory over Nazism in World War II and Europe Day. We fought against Nazism together with the peoples of the anti-Hitler coalition, and now history repeats itself when it is necessary to oppose Russism together. Ukraine knows the value of the unity of democratic countries better than anyone. Their support allowed us to stop the Russian aggression. Europe helped us at the most critical moment in our modern history. Solidarity with Ukraine gave a second wind to the European project, a new impetus to the European idea. The EU is more united than ever in supporting Ukraine and repelling Russian aggression. Here, in our country, we are writing a new chapter in the history of free Europe together. Ukraine's accession to the EU will strengthen the European community. It is defense capability and will shift Europe's political borders to the east.
Ukraine daily demonstrates the effectiveness of the fight against aggression. Every downed terrorist missile, every success of our soldier in repelling Russian assaults is proof that we can defeat this aggressor. In this context, today I thanked Ursula for the readiness of the European Union to provide Ukraine with extremely necessary ammunition, shells for artillery.
Europe Day is not a new date for Ukraine. It has existed for 20 years, but earlier it was celebrated on the third Saturday of May. This date was officially approved by the Council of Europe in 1985. From now on, Ukraine will mark it together with the EU. Europe Day does not exist in contrast to Victory Day, which was previously marked on May the 9th. It commemorates another historical event, the Schuman Declaration of May 9, 1950, the impetus for the European integration, which preceded the creation of the EU itself. Ukraine does mark the Day of Remembrance and victory over Nazism in World War II of 1939-1945 on May the 8th, also together with Europe. But there are huge celebrations of Victory Day in Russia. Moscow has betrayed and disgraced the memory of the victors over Nazism in World War II. Russia marks May the 9th almost alone. Just the presidents of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Prime Minister of Armenia and Belarusian self-proclaimed President Alexander Lukashenko came to the parade. For former partners in the anti-Hitler coalition, Moscow and its rituals have become toxic. Even Ukrainian veteran who came to the monument in Kyiv noted that the current war is another genocide against what he once fought.
Як ви ставитеся зараз до тої війни, яку розв'язала Росія проти України?
Про цю війну говорить, это Путина нужно повесить и все, и кончить. Что это? Эту войну. Ибо эта война, это точный геноцид. Вот это геноцид, когда людей убивают.
This year, many Russian cities refused to hold parades, and the traditional procession of the Immortal Regiment was cancelled throughout the whole country. This best conveys the psychological atmosphere on the eve of this day. Russia's claims to the status of the victorious country are groundless and inappropriate, given the defeats in the war with Ukraine. But this day can be used by Russian propaganda for its own purposes. Armed forces of Ukraine warned Russians not to go to parades all over the country.
The mass media of the Russian Federation daily disseminate false information about invented Ukrainian saboteurs who crowd into Russia to carry out terrorist acts. Fake drone strike on the Kremlin, text messages about detected strike drones on civilian sites, strange detains. We see that children's parade are planned for May 9th in some settlements of Russia. We appeal to all citizens of Russia. The armed force of Ukraine do not fight with the civilian population, especially with children. Your fellow citizens on the territory of Ukraine are doing this, and each of them will answer for this blows before people and before God. We are not going to and will not inflict any blows on children. We warn you about possible provocation by the Russian special services. They now really need the most bloody picture. Refrain from participating in public events these days. Warn your secret services that you are aware of their bloody plans.
Practice has shown that the slogan we can repeat is an empty bravado, with Ukrainians and Western allies not fighting for Russia. Russian hopes to capture Bakhmut by May 9th failed. The armed forces of Ukraine prevented this. The battle for Bakhmut has been going on for almost 300 days, and the enemy troops are still unable to capture the city, which is their priority. Heroic defenders of Bakhmut effectively deterred the enemy's advance into Donetsk Oblast. Endless unsuccessful attempts to capture Bakhmut exhaust the human and material resources of the aggressor state. This creates favorable conditions for the future Ukrainian counterattack. Moscow's expectations that the capture of Bakhmut will be a present for May the 9th was groundless. The enemy is demoralized by defeats near Bakhmut. The inability to capture the city caused public quarrels between the military leadership of Russia, the Wagner PMC, and Kadyrov's soldiers. The leader of the Wagner PMC, Yevgeny Prigozhin, said that his mercenaries were forced to cover one of the flanks from the armed forces after the Russian army fled from its positions. He complained about the intrigues that are constantly swirling in the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation while the occupying army is fleeing from its positions. At the same time, according to Prigozhin, the Russian soldiers are not to blame for running away from their positions. They say the fish rots from the head, and those who gave them these tasks are to blame. According to him, despite the promised ammunition and appointment of Sergei Surovikin, almost no changes took place at the front. They said that the Wagnerites were allocated only 10% of what they demanded. Prigozhin accused the chief of the General Staff of Russia, Valery Gerasimov, that he personally reduced the amount of weapons that were going to be allocated to Wagner. At the same time, Prigozhin's plans to leave the city changed somewhat. Now he declared that they will definitely stay in the Bakhmut direction for a few more days. In addition, Prigozhin said that Russia's biggest enemy is not the armed forces of Ukraine, but those rascals who do not give weapons to the Wagnerians. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for staying with us, keep tuned for future videos, and goodbye.